What happens to us, our minds, our bodies, our thoughts, when we explore nature? When we connect with forests, animals, and lakes? Do we distance ourselves from our worries? Do we connect with the living things around us, or do we look out into the expanse of trees, green and gold, and reflect on what's happening in our lives? One thing is certain. The coronavirus has thrown us into turbulent and chaotic times. We've experienced a year of constant reminders of the dangers that surround us, that connecting with one another is not safe. Everyone has felt the impacts of this pandemic, from parents to healthcare workers to college students. 71% of college students have experienced increased stress and anxiety because of COVID-19. And over half of these students explain there's a shadow over their lifestyle, academics, and health. One of these students is Anthony, a pre-med neuroscience major and chemistry minor who says, "It's been a long year, and I've had a really hard time managing my stress when it comes to school." However, experts offer a solution, and Anthony has taken their advice: enjoying nature. He explains, "I try to get outside every day because when I'm in nature, my stress almost fully disappears." With his camera in hand, he lays close to the floor, feeling connected to the plants and animals that breathe around him, a sensation that's been lost because of the masked nature of this pandemic. Pops of colorful animals appear, and with them comes a reminder of normalcy. The ducks in the gardens experience a life mostly unchanged, swimming, flying, and bathing themselves. Anthony explains, "The animals remind me that while I experience large upheavals in my life, nature is calm, serene, and mostly untouched by the pandemic." Over the course of the year, individuals have taken to the outdoors to be immersed in the beauty of living, breathing beings. But equally as important are those who adventure out together, because nature is still a safe place to connect with others. From professors and students to friends to families, many people have found both solace and energy in nature. This is Dr. Lori Benier, a senior associate dean at the Nicholas School of the Environment. Dr. Benier instated walk-in talks around the Duke Pond for the spring semester. She explains, "The walk-in talks have been the highlight of my semester. We've been so limited in options to meet with students this year, and this has been a fun and safe slice of normal." On this afternoon in March, graduate student Stephanie and undergraduate senior Elena joined Dr. Benier. As the three walked around the Duke Pond, they laughed, talked about their plans for the summer, and most importantly, breathed in the land that surrounded them. But despite their happiness, there's a looming reminder of the coronavirus. Their conversations trended back to talking about what they miss: in-person classes, traveling, studying abroad. But when their walk came to an end, they discussed the future and moving forward. As they left the pond, they talked about their plans for the day and the next time they could return to the outdoors. Besides building these classroom relationships, peers and friends also escape into nature, especially at the Duke Gardens, which opened up halfway through the spring semester. Countless RAs, advisors, and more rushed to plan events. This group of students is rolling out their yoga mats to take a class with Lane Compton, a graduate resident and medical school student who explains, "I decided to teach the class because I became a yoga teacher rather recently and wanted to share that with my residents. I feel that being able to teach moving meditation is so much more effective outside because it's such a calming and peaceful environment." The yoga students connect their breathing with their movements, twist their bodies, and reach up towards the sky, as Lane asks them to think about what they're grateful for. As their minds and bodies open, so do the flowers of the gardens. With each splash of color, students are greeted with the end of wintry isolation and the beginning of bloom. Even as Lane leaves the gardens, they remain open to anyone who may want to visit. Before starting the 3-mile albular trail in the Duke Forest, Duke sophomore Kieran is waiting for his visiting family. He says, "My parents were desperate to leave Ohio because they've barely traveled since the pandemic. Their one condition was that wherever they went, it had to be warm and they needed to be outside. Seeing me was an added bonus. My mom works from home and she tries to spend an hour outside each day, but it gets hard during the winter in Ohio. One thing they said they had to do when they were down here was take a walk in the Duke Forest." The Kornman Lele family visited Duke before the vibrancy of spring began. But this didn't matter, because they were together. Each day, the sun sets on communities, universities, and homes around the world, but with the changing light comes reflection, an opportunity to listen, think, and breathe. The students at Duke and people around the world have been thrown into unprecedented and stressful times. But that doesn't mean that there aren't ways to restore one's mental health and one's relationships. Whether it be taking walks around the forest or basking in the sun, the road to the end of this pandemic will be long and winding. But nature might just act as a reprieve along the way.